Jane, thank you so much for joining me. And perhaps we could start with giving a little bit of a background into Campbell's and your role there.
Sure. Campbell's, well, it was first established in 1870 here in Rutherglen, and we're still here 5 generations on. So my sister Jules is the winemaker and I'm managing director. And we are learning every day, but we love what we do. Obviously, we were born into it, and it's an amazing place to be a part of.
Yeah, I really think a lot of people think when new world wines, they think the last sort of 30, 40, 50 years perhaps, but I don't think many people go back 150 years. And I believe the Campbell family was one of the first families to establish a winery in Australia. Right?
Certainly was. Yeah, I think we're up there amongst the first 10 anyway, something like that. And we're also part of Australia's first families of wine too, which is a fantastic group that was started a few years ago, just to show the world that Australia does have these incredible wine legacies and families that are 5 generations. Some of them are even more than that. So yeah, we have an incredible history here in Australia, even though we are classed as New World.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think Rutherglen on the Australia stage perhaps plays a very vital role. And would you like to just where you see Rutherglen playing a role in the Australian wine industry, and then perhaps in the world? I think it often is a benchmark region for a lot of wine courses as well.
Yeah, sure. Rutherglen, as far as Australia goes, is a very well-loved region. It was often seen as quite old-fashioned, and I guess that's because we have been around for a long time. However, when people come to visit us, they love it. Of course, I'm pretty biased, but they love it and they come back because what they love about Rutherglen, and particularly our Rutherglen village, is all the wineries are quite close to each other. A lot of them are family owned as well, which is amazing. And so everyone has got skin in the game, so to speak. And yeah, there's always lots of stories to be told. It's a very genuine region, very authentic, and people love that. And I think on a world stage, obviously our fortifieds are just a massive draw card, and that's our claim to fame. And as you can see here, there's only a few barrels from behind me here, but they're all around me here, and I'm right here in the heart of cellars. And fortifieds is Rutherglen's, it's Rutherglen's main attraction. And then once people get here, they're due to the fortifieds and mainly muscat, they realise that we actually do, make some really good white and red wines and table wines as well. So
the region that I don't think a lot of people overlook is the fact that Victoria used to be the biggest wine producing region within Australia pre-phylloxera, obviously. So your family's obviously been through the phylloxera outbreak, and so therefore the dominance of stickies in the 1900s was quite was the biggest production of wine. And so the heritage, I think it's really nice to date back. And looking in the background, it wouldn't be out of place. The tin shed essentially wouldn't be out of place in a port hall in the Douro.
Absolutely, yes, that's for sure. Yeah, I've looked back on our history, and the first 2 vines that we planted were actually Riesling and Malbec, surprisingly.
Really?
Back in 1870, I don't know why. But then obviously, fortifieds took over, and we still grow Riesling and Malbec today, but obviously with phylloxera, that totally wiped us out. And so we had to replant, and that's allowed us, because we've still got phylloxera in our soil, obviously. We have our own clone of Giriffe. So Rutherglen Giriffe is another variety that we pride ourselves on here in Rutherglen, because we basically have our own clone, so it's very protected, and it's quite a full-on style. However, what we've tried to do here at Campbell's is, certainly my father, Colin, he called it thoroughbreeding the Giriffe. So taming it really and making a more of an elegant style. So yeah, that's a beautiful wine. So that's another unique wine that we have here at Rutherglen.
So coming on to the two distinct styles that you make, or 3 perhaps distinct styles that you make, the Rutherglen Muscats, Rutherglen Taupeques, formerly Tokai, and then the table wines. in the old world, we often talk about the strengths and weaknesses of a region being what they are best known for. So Veneto region, best known for Pinot Grigio. It's a fantastic strength. The weakness is that some of the more boutique styles like Lugana get overlooked. And I think the same perhaps could be said for Rutherglen. Is it's so well known for its muscats and fortified muscats, fortified topaques, that in fact the table wines often get overlooked slightly. Do you find that?
Yeah, totally. Certainly from a press point of view, and however, once people come here, they'll always buy a bottle of muscat or topaque because they're just so special and the stories are so unique. However, with our climate, it's what we call it a Mediterranean climate. So we have long, dry, sometimes very dry summers, and then these beautiful autumns which go on, for more than 3 months at times, and that really allows us to get this beautifully ripe fruit. So one of the first things that really bounces out of the glass is just that gorgeous fruit character and bouquet, and that's what we love here. And then we just give the wines enough oak to support that fruit. And we find that our wines are approachable now, but also, the cellaring potential is there as well. So yeah, I think many people are surprised when they come to Rutherglen just to see the versatility of our region, and a lot of that is to do with our climate, which is great, and we can really grow any grape here. We're very lucky, but we don't want to be everything to everyone. So we have a few specialties as well, of course.
And, I think not to say I wouldn't say jack of all trades, because you have mastered the fortified, and obviously your father was instrumental in setting up the Rutherglen Muscat classification. Perhaps you'd like to run us through that very, very briefly.
Yeah, he was. Dad just lived and breathed muscat, which is wonderful. Thankfully, my sister Jules is taking on that legacy. I would fail at that very quickly. So basically, with the Rutherglen muscat classifications, there's 4 classifications: the Rutherglen, Classic, Grand, and Rare. And it was brought out to allow consumers to understand this muscat. And also, so they go up in basically age classifications. And there's quite a few muscat producers in Rutherglen that have formed the Muscat of Rutherglen group. And each winery has their own house style. And that is something that we've just relaunched recently with a new brand, new logo. And we're starting the Muscat Mile, where people can, when they visit Rutherglen, they can go on the Muscat Mile and discover every winery's own classification. So it's quite a journey.
And how would you summarize the Campbell's house style? How does it separate it? How do you separate that? And what is your calling card to the other 8 or 9 producers? Is it 9 muscat producers?
Yes, something. Yeah, maybe I think it's around. Actually, it could be around 6. I think 6 to 7. But we're always looking for new people. So Campbell's house style it's very consistent. We actually use the Solera system here, whereas some winemakers tend to use barrels, which is absolutely fine. But we use the Solera so that we test them every year. We top up with fresh Rutherglen muscat every year as well, right up to our Merchant Prince Rare Rutherglen muscat, which has material dating back 100 years. It's imperative that we also keep it fresh. So it has this lovely layering effect from the youngest right back down to the oldest stocks. And we draw 5% Merchant Prince every year and bottle that. So that's an ongoing story. And then, but the Rutherglen muscat is where we start. And that's very consumer-friendly muscat. It can be used in cocktails, over ice, over ice cream. It's just delicious. And it's full of Rutherglen sun and fruit. We tend to call it plum pudding in a glass. It's delicious, and it lingers on the palate too. So yeah, it's pretty unforgettable.
So having only drawn 5% out of the Merchant Prince Solera system every year means that in a lifetime, you might not see wine that you have made from a vintage actually ever come out the other end of the Solera system. So the essential and the family nature of it means you're looking after the wine you've made, what you're making wine really for your next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can imagine that the planning and blending process of this is only a winemaker can do it because they're so passionate about this. It's a hell of a process to go through. And so, yeah, when you come to visit here, you'll see there's barrels everywhere and different Soleras, and it takes you have to be very, very passionate about fortifieds, and that's what we do, and that's what keeps us going.
Brilliant. So as winemaker, vigneron, with the wine, the farming, the winemaking, the sales, I guess being a family business, someone can take each one of those roles, and it must be really nice working alongside your sister doing one role and you doing the other.
It is. We work very well together. She's fairly reserved, like my father, which can be annoying at times because you don't get a reaction. Whereas I tend to be running around and too fast at times too. So it's certainly a really good blend, and yeah, it's good fun, and we're in an exciting time at the moment. The winery is going really well. We've got a great team of people here at Campbell's. They're hugely supportive, and they're all here for the long haul. So it's good times.
Extended family, and so being a benchmark style of wine that really everyone wants on their wine list. Really, I think there's nothing else quite like it around the world. That your wine must be sold in many countries. Do you have a favourite country to travel to that sells your wine?
I do, and if everyone was here listening, they'd be able to answer before I could. But it's definitely the UK. I'm a massive.
You don't have to say that.
No, I really am. I'm a massive UK fan, and devastated that we won't be able to get there soon, and that I have to put up with an Aussie summer. Yeah, so we love being, and I think we've been with you guys since '82 or something like that. It's been a long time, and obviously we speak the same language. There's an easy understanding there. So hands down the UK. And we've been with you the longest as well. So through all sorts of times. So yeah, definitely UK.
That's nice. And then finally, what would you pair, or which one of your wines would you pick to pair with your favorite meal?
Well, I love cheese and crackers, and Bobby Burns Shiraz for me with a nice big chunk of vintage cheddar is hands down one of my absolute go-tos.
So certainly one for Burns night in Scotland as well. That's hailing from Scotland. Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Jane, thank you so much for chatting. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure we'll see you in the UK sometime soon, perhaps next year. Who knows?
Sounds great, Elliot. Sounds great. Thank you very much for having me.
No, thank you.